It's live. So I hope your Wednesdays were great and your fantasy football teams are set. Those games are tonight. But we're going to start back with our third episode of the Youth Leading Conversations. And as always, what we want to do is introduce everybody we have that has joined us. So on my screen, it starts over to the left with Laurel. And so we'll start there and just go across. So.
Hi, I'm Laurel. I'm at Asbury UMC in Pasadena, Texas.
Awesome. And you seem to have got your internet going well for us today.
Our connection's better today or something. So.
Awesome. And Chad?
Hi, I'm Chad McElvin. I'm at Cedar Bayou Grace United Methodist Church in Baytown.
I was waiting for something awesome.
There we go.
All right, next. Taylor, I think you're next.
I'm next. I'm Taylor out of First UMC in Quitman, Texas.
Sweet. All right, and then Katie, y'all's group.
I'm Trevor, Associate Director at John Wesley in Houston.
And I'm Katie. I'm here too.
Thanks, Chad.
Ruth Ann?
I'm Ruth Ann Person. I'm at First Methodist in Conroe.
I'm scared to see what I get. And I'm Russell Martin, and I'm the Youth Director at Williams Memorial in Texarkana, Texas. So today we're going to kind of talk about our the Bible and how we get into the Bible and how we study and why it's important for us, and then how we can help our students to do that. So kind of starting off is how much do you push, or what are the ways that you personally, what you do for kind of Bible study, devotional Bible study, what helps, what works the best. And I'm just going to open this up and let y'all talk, and it should jump back and forth to whoever's going. So, who wants to start?
I know something that really encouraged me was in our, this happened, it was last year at our certification, we were encouraged to read and participate in the This Day, the Wesleyan Way of Prayer, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I really, even after our assignment we had to do with it, I just kind of kept it going. And the thing I really enjoyed about it was, or at least in terms of the Bible, is in the back it has a good lectionary, and it kind of goes even through different holidays or different seasons, and Monday through Sunday, I mean, different Bible readings, Old Testament, New Testament, and I don't know, just going through it and the little bits that they give you, I don't know, that just kind of helped encourage me as I would just check off the ones I've done, and that just kind of gave me, I kind of kept myself accountable trying to keep it going. And when I did read the sections from the Bible, I would also take time to journal my thoughts on it. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect at doing it every day, but it's definitely been helpful and encouraging me to do it. So that's something I've enjoyed.
All right, who else?
I like This Day as well. We did that when I was on certification too, and I'm a fan of that. I also have the Prayer for Minister and Other Servants, and it has lectionary as well. And I've really enjoyed lectionary. Now I have a preacher that's not a lectionary preacher, so it's a little different, because it was great when I did, because whatever I was reading on my own was usually hitting in the sermons and what we were working on too. It's not so much like that anymore, so it's a little bit different. But we also just did a book study for our church, like the whole church was doing it, and it's Hidden in Christ, and it was a word study on that's by James Bryan Smith, but it takes Colossians 3:1-17, and it really goes through it almost like word by word, which at first I was like, I'm not sure about that, but I've really enjoyed it, and it is encouraging you to memorize this like big chunk of scripture. And my Bible study leaders have been better than me, but it's been great for us and for me personally. It's just like this guiding thing. We've literally spent like 5 weeks on Colossians 3:1-17. So it's been an interesting transformational thing for us, for me too, and that.
Hey, can you hold that up one more time? Like it was kind of cut out whenever you did. So, okay. All right, Ruth Ann, what helps you as far as studying the Bible?
Well, I just kind of go back and forth from different books that I have. I have several, women's devotional. There's not really one that I do, although I do have This Day as well, and I've enjoyed that. For me, doing Bible study has been something that I've had to learn to do because I was raised Catholic, so we didn't do a lot of Bible study. Bibles, you had your little missalette that you used during Mass. So for me, that was something that I had to learn how to do as I became Methodist. So, so I kind of have different, several books that I choose from.
All right. Who else has? Taylor?
For me, I guess I don't have a devotional. I use really, for me, most of the time, I pick a book out of the Bible and I'll just read it. I really do like, going at my own pace, getting to read. If I have a question about something, getting to look it up. I really do appreciate the history a lot of the Bible and doing that. But something that really helps me is I've got a group of friends I went to college with. We were in a Bible study for several years, and even though we've been out of college for a couple of years now, we're still really close and good about texting each other. How can I pray for you? What are you reading this week? What are you getting out of this? And every once in a while, we'll text each other and say, hey, why don't we do this book or read something out of this. It really does help give me perspective because it's a lot of guys from a lot of different walks of life and a lot of guys that serve in churches of different denominations. So it gives me a lot of perspective, and I enjoy that.
Laurel, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say most recently for me, our staff has actually started a Bible study right before our staff meetings. And since I'm kind of getting plugged back into being in ministry on a daily basis, that's been really helpful for me. I kind of am like some of the others and just enjoy being able to pick up the Bible and read where I like to be. But classes that have helped me before, I took Disciple 1. I actually took that twice. And that kind of went back to, I apologize because I didn't catch your name, but what he was saying about the history and being able to link the Old Testament to the New Testament and why that really shapes who we are. I would love to take more disciple classes. We're not offering them right now, but if you've never taken Disciple 1, I highly recommend it. Enjoyed that a lot.
One of the things that I'm doing is kind of combo with the youth and myself, but is we are reading through and then kind of journaling a little bit, and I send a text message out to the kids, and I'm reading along with them. So they ask me, I ask them. Sometimes none of us read. We get to a week, and we're like, yeah, none of us got through our readings for the week. But so our senior high Bible study is doing it together, and so that kind of brings me to my next question, which is, are you able to separate, or do you separate preparing for our youth lessons? Every week we all do Sunday school or youth or messages or whatever. And so what are the challenges in separating preparing for that and your own personal study?
For me, I try to do my own personal Bible study early, like in the morning. I just try to, before I come into work or something, I just try to keep it separated outside the office and I like to find a place outside, whether it's in a park or somewhere, and just do it. But I know, but that is challenging because sometimes you think, oh well, me preparing for those lessons, this is my Bible study, and I do learn from that, and we all can. But I don't know, it is good to keep it separated. So I just try my best to do it at my own time.
Ruth Ann, I saw you shaking your head. What are some of the challenges that presents?
Well, for me, I do some before school Bible studies 3 days a week. So for me to be getting up, I get up early with the kids, and we use the book that's, it's like, oh gosh, I can't remember what the name of it, but it's like a 365 day, and so each day is today is national, like today was National Oatmeal Day, or but there's it has like little fun facts about today in 1929. Of course, we talked about when the stock market crashed and how it was putting value on the wrong things. But so I do that 3 days a week with the different school districts that I'm at. But it is hard because then you start getting busy with things going on and people calling you by the time you get to work. So I kind of agree with Chad. It's so much easier, but however, getting up early in the morning makes it hard to get that started of your day. So it's tough.
I like Chad's idea and thought about you kind of keep it separate. For me, I mean, Chad, you said yours is outside somewhere. Mine is in my house. Like before I go to bed, that's my time. Usually, my wife, she's a teacher. She's in bed a little before I am. So like once everybody's kind of gone to bed, everybody's quiet. That's when I can get mine in the living room. But I think there's a lot of days, where you, especially doing it after you've had the full day, your mind isn't always off of whatever's been going on that day. So you'll carry that in, and that can be kind of detrimental at some points. So yeah.
So who else? What are the challenges in preparing for a lesson every week, and that possibly, what are the challenges in us thinking that is our personal study, and does it count for that sometimes?
I actually do a terrible job at doing my own personal study. I'm usually getting caught up in whatever I'm preparing for, whether it's Bible study or Sunday school, or and right now I'm reading everything, trying to get for certification, and I have to force myself to read anything. I don't always do it just for fun, so it's a real challenge for me to set aside time to do it. And there are weeks when I'm good about it, and there will be weeks or months that I'm just awful at it as well. So it's a real struggle, and there's a big difference whenever I do it for myself versus just doing it to prepare for something. So
that's what I was going to say too. Is like whenever I think we all have times where we're better at it than other times, but when I am in the Word on my own, that's outside of study for lessons and stuff like that, my lessons are always better. Whether it's really because even if it's like a completely different topic or completely different book, I always think that there's always things that I'm learning on my own that then get just confused into whatever it is I'm teaching. But I always have a noticeable, or just maybe it's just even where I'm at personally in my, how I am just feeling about life and other people. But whenever I'm in the Word, like on my own, it makes me better at other places, especially. So, and sometimes I do that really well, and sometimes I don't. Today, nope. This week is a bad week for that. Now I'm kind of ticked that the week we showed up was like the Bible week.
It was games last week, so
Dang it. I had that one.
We'll do it again. Laurel, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same place, especially with a 17-month-old at home, having my own time. It's usually while I'm at work. That's the only time that I'm not doing double duty. So it's definitely something that is amazing when I know God works in weird ways. I feel like He's using this today to tell me it's time to start making some time to do this, which was already on my mind anyway. So and I enjoy the ideas that you guys are throwing out to do that. So
I have a 2-year-old too, and for me that's been a challenge as well, because we watch Jesus on the iPad, and then we read the Bible Animals book, and for me, in my mind I'm like, that doesn't count. recently I've kind of been like, no, it does count. That's just where I'm at now. And like, although I'm, spiritually leading all these teenagers, I'm also spiritually leading him, and so like, it does count. And to a certain extent, it does count. But I do the same thing. A lot of times I have to do it right when I come into the office, because home is just, chaos.
Yeah.
I have a few questions that I'm asking, but I want to stop here and give you a chance to ask a question. What is something that when you saw the topic, or if when you saw the topic that you were like, hey, this is something that I would love to get out of this discussion?
I guess like ways to encourage. I mean, Russell, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what are some good ways to really encourage students to have their own personal Bible study?
Yeah.
I've handed out these sheets from dailydevos.org that just, I try to encourage students to look at those at least once a day, because it only takes about maybe 5 minutes at the most, just a short little devotional. I feel like that could be something to help encourage them. I don't know if that many of them actually utilize it, but at least it's something I'm trying to do. And but I don't know. I just always wonder, like, what is the best way to really encourage them to do it? Because really, they have to make that decision themselves. But I don't know. Maybe there's some other techniques or strategies out there that just really help students have their own personal Bible study.
Okay, cool. First of all, I want to welcome James. James, are you out in the pumpkin patch again? You're from the pumpkin patch. This is week 2 in the pumpkin patch. I'm giving him the award again just because he's joining us from there. So gold star for James from the pumpkin patch. All right, so who wants to start? What are the ways that you use in your youth group to encourage your students, things that have worked well or things that you have tried that have flopped so we know not to do them? But what are some of those things that you have done in your groups to encourage your students to read the Bible? I wasn't going to call. I was going to let somebody go ahead and start if you have an idea.
So one thing we've done, and this doesn't work for all of our students, you've got those kids that are going to be more committed, and you wish all of them were, fully 1,000% committed, but that's not always the case. So one thing we've done that has kind of worked well is for the kids that are committed, for the kids that are passionate about this. I partner them up, try to do it by age group. Sometimes that don't always work, but just not say, hey, you guys are doing Bible study together through text message or anything like that, but just hold each other accountable, text each other, say, hey, have you been reading this week? What have you been reading? That sort of thing, and that works okay. It works really well during the summer for us. It works less well once it gets busy. Like, a lot of our kids are basketball players. Like, I'd say 60% of my kids play basketball or cheerlead during basketball season. So it gets a little, once the season gets busier, once life gets busier, especially with school and that sort of thing, it kind of dwindles off. But that's been successful for us, especially during the summer or at times where our kids don't have a million things going. I wish I could find a way to better motivate them to stay with it during the busy part of your life, because I think that's really, it's really beneficial to have that going during the busy part of your life, not just during the calm part.
Okay. Who's next?
This year, we've kind of, I'm kind of with everybody else as far as, getting the kids to be committed. This year during Advent, our church is going to be doing or hopefully, a group where we read the Gospels through Advent and then continuing on through Pentecost. And one of our associates is going to be setting up a blog to be able to use so that people can go online and read the scriptures instead of carrying around the book, because there's going to be a printed version as well. So I'm hoping that because it's going to be, techie, that maybe some of our kids will be committed to be able to pull up the blog on their phone and read that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works.
Cool. Last year we did a church-wide reading through the New Testament for our Wednesday night Bible studies, and so everyone was reading the same scriptures and stuff, and we would put out daily text messages that had daily scriptures and stuff in them to our students. And I don't know if that helped encourage them or if that just annoyed them.
Oh.
It was double. Like, some kids were, because it had the link, so they would then could just click it and pull it up on their Bible app on their phone or on just the browser. And so some of them liked it because it was so easy that it did that. But we also had kids, like, in masses unsubscribing from our texts because they were getting, too many texts a day. So, or a week.
Yeah.
So it was like, hit or miss. I almost think it would be better if they, that you can do the text messaging where, like, they subscribe in, or opt in, and as opposed to just spamming them all. But I think, in general, over the course of time, giving them, like, a lot of times they just don't know where to begin. So continuing just to give them, well, read this, or we're going to talk about that, like giving them set things and not being too much because they're just bombarded with homework and all of those things, or at least they think they are, even if they're not. So, but they, I think a lot of times if you just leave it to them and give them the whole book, they don't even know where to start. So continuing to give them something to go off of, whatever the reading plan is, I think is helpful.
Yeah, we did. We have two lists. I have one is the journal list that I talked about that I will send them the link, and it has with the scripture, the actual reference, and then the link to that online that they can read. And that's about 25 students is all I have in that group. And then I have about 105 students and adults and church members and stuff who've signed up for a daily verse of the day. And so we plug those in. And at 7:30 in the morning, they get a text message that has the verse of the day. And when I've had kids get mad for that, and it is all opt-in. You opt into whichever one you want. When I had a kid get mad for that is when they haven't come, and they know that is their time. They know they get a verse at 7:30, and at 7:30 they better be in their car on the way to school, or they better be awake or whatever. And so one day we missed, and it was like I had 4 students going, "We didn't get the verse today. What's up with the deal? What's happened?" And it was. I hate to say it wasn't because they were looking for the spiritual nourishment and fulfillment from the verse, but it was also an alarm clock and a reminder. But if you can set up a text message thing that they can opt into, it's a great way to do that. What else? Anybody else want to chime in on James? We're talking about getting students involved in how we get them involved in reading the Bible more consistently.
I don't have that many kids. I'm just up to 12, so small youth group. But we use MinHub as my text message blast. So I just read different devotions, and when I do that, I find one that I think pertains to them also. And so on Wednesdays, we don't have midweek stuff. We just have Sunday. And so midweek Wednesday, I just send them out what devotion I read that I thought would help them that week. And so they get it. I haven't had any kids complain about it. It's not an opt-in, really. It's you get it, and if you want out of it, I can stop sending it to you. But none of my kids have complained. Like somebody said earlier, I do have a lot of kids that read the Bible hardcore. Then I have some kids that probably have never cracked it open before. So I'm hoping it helps the ones that don't read and the ones that do read it on a daily.
Laurel, do you have anybody else have anything?
Yeah. I was just going to say we struggle as a ministry, and I think we always have. And one of the things that we're not doing yet, but I hope to do, and I'm hoping that it will maybe increase it, is trying to get some parent involvement as well. Something that the parents and the students can use together is something I'm hoping to implement in January. Was really looking at it involving what we were talking about on Sunday evenings, but if I could find something that on a daily, or even if it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, some sort of schedule where the parents and the students were getting the same information. Here's some questions you could talk about together. It's just somewhere where I feel, at least as a youth ministry, possibly as a congregation, we're needing to be better about getting the parents involved as well, because I think that that's where our struggle is with them not reading on a daily basis, is our parents aren't reading their Bibles on a daily basis either. So anyway, I know it's not really a whole lot of helpful information, but something that I'm kind of looking to start trying to implement. Don't know if anybody's doing that currently or has any suggestions on that, but I feel like that's kind of the way we need to be heading for our ministry.
Yeah, and that was something that kind of struck me. I was reading something on a blog earlier. I was talking about what example am I for, what does Eli see? I have a 4-year-old, so what is he seeing me do? And that kind of does the whole coming to the office and reading the Bible is great, but also is he seeing me on a regular basis, reading the Bible, and as he grows older and stuff, am I setting that example at home? And so it kind of threw me off as you talk about the parents and doing things together and doing that. Anybody found ways to encourage your families? The devotional book that I think Ruth Ann talked about is one of those ways that the whole church is doing it, and they talked about also Wednesday night Bible study for Katie's church is doing that whole. Trevor's doing that whole. The whole church doing a study, and that's one way to tie that in. I'm gonna throw out this question. It may not go anywhere. Paper versus electronic. The Bible versus the Bible. What are some of the challenges in both? What are some of the advantages to both? If somebody is coming on here, they watch this deal, they're starting off as a youth director, and they have this question of, what's better, or what are some of the challenges with that? So just give me a quick good versus bad. I only read the paper version of the Bible, or I use my iPhone in church, or what?
I feel like on the phone or electronic, it's good for on the go because it's just there. And that's something with students, I always encourage them to get Bible apps and all that. But whenever we are at church and in Bible study, I always encourage them to use paper Bibles. That way they get familiar with it as well. But there's been plenty of times when we've been out and about at a restaurant or something and we're having a little devotional. We don't have the Bible, like physical Bibles there, so I tell them to pull out their phones. But I don't know, I just try to do a good mix. I do encourage, I think the digital Bible is good because you have it with you on the go and you can read it when you're waiting in line somewhere. And I don't know, it's just easier to carry around, I guess.
One thing I like about doing, I'll say on the phone, and I guess I'm mixed on both of them, kind of like Chad. There's advantages and disadvantages to both, but one thing I really do appreciate is a lot of times if we're reading something and the kids, say, well, I don't really understand this, I don't understand the phrasing of this. If you have the digital Bible, you can say, okay, we'll try to switch it over to another version, read it. That way you're not, when they look at you, you don't have to say, they don't look at you and expect you to say, okay, give me the answer, because I hate that where they get in the habit of expecting you to have the answer instead of actually going and looking through the Bible and reading it for themselves. I think it's a better habit if you are saying, okay, well, I need to go find what this means. I need to go seek the truth in this. So I really like it because, a kid doesn't have to know Greek or know Hebrew and go and parse Scripture. I mean, they can pull it up and say, well, I don't really understand the phrasing. Maybe I can switch the phrasing and get a new version, and maybe it'll help shed some light on this. So that's one thing I really do like about it. A downside of it is it can be distracting, especially even if you say, okay, well, this is my time, I'm going to read the Bible. It's really hard to do that if you're getting 10 text messages or push notifications from Twitter or whatever. That can be distracting, and nobody likes to put their phone on airplane mode, to be honest.
All right, what else? What do y'all use? What do y'all encourage your students to use, and how do you do that?
I really use both. I mean, I kind of go back and forth. I mean, if I'm sitting down to do study, I'll use paper Bible, but I definitely, as far as if I'm trying to locate something quickly, I mean, the digital Bible's way easier on that, because a lot of times I might remember exactly the phrasing, but not where it is. So I use both. But for us, I think with my students, I had been kind of, I don't know where I stood on it, a little bit back and forth. I would probably like for them to have a paper Bible in their hand. However, one of our best Sunday school teachers, who was also 65 years old, techs, he is the biggest proponent for them all having the Bible on their phones, and so he's like pushes it all the time. And so just because of him pushing it, like I just ended up kind of embracing it because he's been such a proponent of it and a fan of them having it, and being able to change versions I think is a big deal for him too. So like they do use it in Bible study, they do use it in church. Now if when a pastor picks up his iPad or his phone to do the scripture reading, I just want to faint a little bit in my heart. But as far as the students, like he's been such a proponent of it that it's just kind of made me embrace it too. And I think they probably do read it more for my kids because it's constantly available to them, and they might sit in City Hall and read it, whereas they were never going to pull their paper Bible out. So.
On a personal level, I enjoy the electronic version. Have used it several times. The read function, where I'll set it to read for me while I'm driving in the car. Because again, not having a whole lot of time. Not that that's a replacement for reading, but to be able to get scripture while I'm driving, kind of like audiobook. I've found that really helpful. But kind of like Chad said, I encourage the kids to have it on their phone so that they can reference things quickly. They're not going to be as conscientious about pulling their phone out as they would as like a paperback Bible. But during lessons and while we're in Bible study, I always make sure they have a hard copy paper in their hand. Again, so that they have that experience as well. Because I encourage, especially if they bring their Bible with them, to make notations and things that come to them. Not necessarily full-out journaling, but if something really speaks to you, underline it. Make a note, flag it, whatever. You can't do that as well in the electronic version. So
that's what I do like, is the ability to underline stuff, but the more you work with it, they do have those features to do those type of things. What are, if we're suggesting this, I kind of each week I try to do your favorite app or a suggestion you have, but I'm going to make it specific. So what are the ways that, or either app or phone or resource that you have that you could share as far as helping either your students or yourself get into reading the Bible?
I will say that, this isn't really for students or self, so I'm breaking the rules already. I'm sorry.
That's it.
But I have the 2-year-old, and the YouVersion Kids app is phenomenal because clearly he can't read, and if you haven't played with it at all, it's highly entertaining and engaging, but it's not like a game, right? So it just reads, and there's the picture, and you can touch the monkey and he shoots a banana and whatnot. It sounds stupid, but he will say Jesus, want to engage with it, and so far better than, we were trying to read his children's paper Bible earlier this week too, and that was terrible. He kept flipping to the front and back. We couldn't get through an entire story, but the iPad app, I understand that helps none of you as youth directors, but children, it actually, I'm surprised at how much he uses it. He loves it.
Well, I think anything that helps, for those of us who have kids, that does help us as youth directors, because that gives us time. I can imagine Eli. I didn't even know they had a kids version of YouVersion. So I can imagine Eli sitting down because he always wants to read. Let's read Curious George on the iPad because it does that little bit of movement, something that's a little different. And so I could see tonight I can go, hey, you can watch the iPad as we go to sleep because we're reading this. And so that's awesome. So who else has something either helping with yourself, your family, I'll throw that category into Katie, or for your students?
The biggest thing for me is finding somebody who will hold you accountable, because it's not, you never find somebody who is devout Christian and says, oh, I don't want to read my Bible, but sometimes, we allow work or life or school or whatever to get in the way. So finding somebody who will lovingly hold you accountable, I mean, no matter the age, I think that's huge. And it can be any number of people. Like I know some people, their spouse is that person. Some people it's a friend or a coworker, or if the students, a lot of them, it's one of the other people in their small group. That to me is huge. Yeah.
Cool. Who else? Ways, tools, Bibles, Bible studies, or any other apps or anything that you use? I guess we could say other than YouVersion. Does anybody use YouVersion for the Bible? There is no NRSV on YouVersion.
No.
But that's the only thing as far as, because all the Methodist churches I've been, NRSV has been the predominant one that we use. But so other than that, that's the only drawback I've found with YouVersion. But what other resources do y'all use?
Like I said earlier, I've done stuff with dailydevos.org. He's a Methodist pastor somewhere up in the New England area, and he puts those up every day. You can even submit your own devotionals to them. But they're new every day. I mean, they might repeat after so many years or something, because I've seen some repeat before, but they have a very mobile-friendly website where you can pull up on your phone and it works just well. And you can even embed it into your church website, which is what I've done, just so in case students. I mean, saying dailydevos.org is pretty simple, but you can tell them to go to your own website and put that in. And but again, they're just pretty good, simple, like 5-minute devotionals. And also, there's plenty of other devotional apps out there. I'm trying to remember what this one I have is. The logo looks like a fish. I don't know. I don't know what it's called exactly.
Devozine has one too.
What?
Devozine. Those are those are devotional booklets that are done through the Upper Room, where they're written by the youth or teenagers. I think some maybe early college age students, but they also have a mobile website. And I've taken some of those and shared them on our Facebook page too. But they have that as well.
Yeah, one of the devotionals, the apps I have is Daily Bible Devotion, and they give you a devotion in the morning, in the evening, and they even have Bible trivia and Bible jokes. A lot of them aren't that great, but it's still pretty interesting. But yeah, they update it every day, and these may take you a minute to read, and they're just little quick little things. So it's just a little something. Yeah, I don't know. The logo looks like a fish, and.
All right, so next week, Chad, we need 3 of your best Bible jokes that you come across on the Devozine for next week. All right, well, thank you all for joining us. I hope you all have gained something from it, and I know I've learned several things, especially the kids' YouVersion. I want to use that tonight with Eli. So thanks for that. I'm going to stop the broadcast, but hang on for a minute. I'm going to do some sort of closeout. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see y'all next week on the Google Hangout, same time. And